You have cancer. Your doctor discusses viable and optimal ways to cure the cancer. Which do you pick?
Oh, buddy, calm down. It's just a game here. You don't have to get so serious. Giving the player choices, or at least the illusion of choice, is what truly separates a game from a movie or scripted experience. When given a choice, you have the opportunity to make mistakes, but also to distinguish yourself. When enacting these choices, one issue we come into very often is whether something is viable or not. Like a certain build or playstyle that you would think is worthwhile but don't want to invest into it if it won't perform. While this question does often promote helpful dialogue, it shows a clear misunderstanding. The word viable means capable of being successful. Loosely, that can apply to everything because anything is possible, and in modern game development, it just makes sense to allow every element of your product to be usable. So it's quite an arbitrary statement to say something is capable of being successful. But just because it's possible doesn't mean it's efficient. You would need to find out what your parameters for success are, whether it's a time frame, certain goal, or amount of resources available. Is a 50% win ratio considered successful, or is it a 60% win ratio? Are you trying to be a gold player, a platinum player? Different methods will be more successful at getting to certain levels for certain players. If you only play one role, the situations you can excel in will be limited. If you play multiple roles, you'll generally have more flexibility, but you'll also need to invest more time. What complicates this even further is another possible motivation to not only be successful, but also optimal, which means the best or most preferable method. Many people have limited time and wish to do things as efficiently as possible, and I completely understand that, but that is going to depend on what your purpose is. If you want to win as much as possible, you'll play what performs the best. But certain people perform better on different playstyles or roles and at certain levels of investment. For example, you may only have a few hours a week and you want to see the results with low effort. Well, then we would have a different vision on what is optimal for a casual and a hardcore player. We could then have multiple lists of optimal versions of playstyles and levels of investment based on statistical analysis of win rates, right? Well, no. Not everyone's purpose is to win as much as possible. What if you're playing for fun? Then that would be very personalized on what each person enjoys. What if your purpose is just to get rewards? Then you'd want to adopt playstyles that progress these situations faster, even if it did not result in the highest win rates. This was seen in the trading card game Hearthstone, when there were players using very good control decks, which were usually decks that had lots of answers and could survive long enough to make skill more relevant than luck. These players could get the highest win rates, but it often took very long to do so. There were also players using aggressive decks, which decided matches in a few turns. There was skill involved in some of the guesswork and optimizing your output, but in general, it was a lot of uncertainty. Despite this inconsistency in win rate for more skilled players using those aggressive decks, it progressed matches with a decent enough win rate to justify it. They played more matches than the average control deck player, but spent less time overall to get to the same rating. Now, you can see how figuring out what optimal is can be tricky, and very much based on what your personal agenda is. And that's only scratching the surface of what different motives people have for playing games. For me, the process of finding what is optimal is fun for me, so rather than sticking to something I found for too long, I like to keep trying new ideas. One issue is that people don't like that process. To them, the journey is not as important as the destination, which I think is contrary to the purpose of playing a video game, unless it's your job. People care way too much about the extrinsic rewards of winning and not the intrinsic reward of improving and learning. That's why my videos focus not on getting to certain ranks or rewards, but of learning different playstyles and mechanics so that people can adopt to any situation, not just their current one. But that's just me, and I totally understand being more focused on the immediate results. Another thing is that people like to cherry pick. Cherry picking is essentially picking instances that are favorable to you and not allowing the opponent that same instance when it's favorable to them. For example, if I'm trying to sell someone a bunch of apples and they ask how good the fruit is, then I pick out the best of the bundle and say, look, here, they're all this good. When in reality, there are some rotten ones and overripe ones. In an argument, it would be choosing premises that support you and ignoring those that contradict it. In other words, role-playing as a thief in an argument. So when I tell people they should play for fun and discovering the game's mechanics rather than for rating, I often get people responding that I'm just not good enough at the game to get high rating. Then I come out with a video showing how I made top 10 by abusing duo queue and meta builds, and then people say, you're just abusing the system and know how to play the game. So, which is it? Turns out a lot of the players represented by this voice are those who care too much about the result or the destination and delude themselves of reality. This is also a big concern for the health of a competitive community, because if people will only play for the rewards, only one team can win. It can result in players giving up because they don't see a win condition that they only care for, when the process of figuring out how to win often means overcoming the improbable. They may even do things that will harm the community to improve their chances of winning, like this one instance of an automated tournament where there were 3 decent teams queuing in. Instead of facing both of them, one team dropped out to prevent giving practice to the other team. Seems counterintuitive, right? Yeah, it's a bit extreme, but this idea manifests in many different ways. So you may be asking at this point, how do I focus on finding intrinsic value when everything around me suggests otherwise? First of all, you probably are sitting on social media too often if everyone is chasing results and numbers. Then I would suggest creating personal goals or self-imposed constraints. If you want to learn a new role or playstyle, don't expect to give immediate results. Set realistic goals, and then when it gets to an acceptable level, try a new one. If you try everything, you'll be much better at your original style because you can implement the things you learn from other styles and just overall be more knowledgeable in predicting what others are thinking and trying to accomplish. Also, when you limit yourself, you can sometimes improve your creativity. When you're writing a paper and there's a deadline approaching, you're usually more motivated to do it. Some of my viewers have come to me and said they have issues with performing some of the builds I display because their joints don't allow for quick movements or some other physical impairment. So I made a video showing a build that required, for the most part, only the use of one skill that basically did everything for you, and the rest was built in passively. While this wasn't the most optimal build for me, it created viability under constraints and might be an optimal build for someone else. This doesn't just apply to games. Businesses that grow too large can often get stuck maintaining their staff and branding without branching out because they've got families to feed and don't want to risk it. But at the same time, growth can enable more creativity by affording more resources to experiment and more minds to contribute ideas. At the end of the day, you need to find out what is optimal for you, but understanding other viable options will help you find out what is best for you. Anyways, if you enjoy these kinds of discussions, like the video and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments below some ways that you've improved your creativity or passed the threshold you thought wasn't possible. Join my Discord, and there's a channel where you can discuss these kind of topics. And check the description for some sources on some of the ideas that I'm talking about here. And I'll see you next time.